Welcome, Shalom, Shalom, blessings, and welcome to the next installment of my journey to Chad at the end of 2013. After staying in Pont Belille for about 5 days after arriving in N'Djamena, we made preparations to go to Shajarah, or Cheddra in the local dialect, which is a little further north up into a more desert area in northern Chad. We made a few stops on the way and then started on our journey out of Pont Belille and further north. Some of the videos I'll leave the sound in as it adds to the experience of the situation, and some I will take it out as it's just noise and do voiceover. Several of the boys in the family worked in the family gas shop, and we went to visit them there before we left for Shajarah, which is further north, where more of the family lives and also where there was going to be another mosque built. The trip would take quite a few hours, and part of it was on a highway that was made of sand. Next stop was a fascinating, what you could call industrial area where they made everything and anything, and I was able to buy some traditional Chadian knives, which I took back into Australia no problem. These knives were and are, I presume, still carried by quite a few people in Chadian society, but not by any means the only thing that's being made in these markets, as you'll see. They make everything.
Audio for car?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be used.
He saw my camera.
So this is gonna be used for making things. This is the wheelbarrow. It's made out of this thing. ايوه نوعيتك الشيء نوري تمام لنا تمام لنا فانا شفت فينا مشكله لنا بقول لنا وري لنا شو لنا شفت في مشكله كترة لنا ترى معقد يا دكتور فلما قهوه جلو قهوه ده ini dah nak ini dah nak قهوة سكارة يمكن نعرف. سكارة وين هذا قهوة غيرنا. تكاني ما سفرة كبرى ناوي هذا. تكاني ما كنا نعمل. كل كذا كان تكاد ركاب. سر هذا شيء بدو. لا هذا أنغر كرني. كان جرم محلي كون ذا. جنا أما تايم هكذا. جنا فاز يلو مرة. يلو. Betul ya dia ada burung granit kok gitu. Ya, alga tenda ini araba hadi alga yo prendro. ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਰੇ ਦਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਪਹੁੰਚ
هو بدو يا تمام سيدوني أبدا أكثر من كل هذا كلام
What else you said we need? These are for toilets and things.
Mattress, a mat, maybe a coal thing.
You see
Bed.
this here?
Yeah.
The stove?
Huh?
You can see it.
What? See what?
You see the stove here? Just open your door.
Oh yeah. Yeah, do you want one?
You don't want one?
You're trying to make me. Get one then.
كبير من ده ما فيه كبير من ده ما فيه كبير من ده ما فيه
They're small and massive.
ده بكم 250 نديك 250 اخر انا 300 انا جيبها 100 ريال ارمي لي ورا هتحط عليه ورا
That's the grinder, the noise is here.
Oh yeah. What is that? What are they selling? Is that popcorn or something else?
That's his grinder that used to be his. Sold it to his that brother, the one who went to Libya.
Oh yeah.
100 ما عندنا 100 ما عندنا تعال.
As I put in text earlier, these visits to the gas shop and also to the industrial area were made in the couple of days before we left for Shajarah. And then we made preparations and left actually very early morning, just as the sun was coming up, for quite a long drive to Cheddra. It's around this time in the journey where my sinuses started to play up, and you can hear me sniffing, and you can hear it in my voice when I talk. Things got worse and worse, actually, as the trip went on.
I got it on the video.
You see the sign here?
Yeah, I got it.
Questa non va a mandare.
Awesome.
Okay, they came to water. You see the kid in the car?
Yeah?
They are by. How they know? They got a. This camel is water. Skin is no going to weaken. Bono. Either we can skin with it.
There's all little kids on the camels.
Pretty soon here we're coming up to a quite developed section of the road with electricity poles and lights and curbing and channeling and the works. But it's like they saved the best for last, because about 5 minutes later the road abruptly ends with a little bit more curbing and channeling and lights. There's a roundabout, and the sign on the roundabout says if you go left going to Masakori, and where we do go later on, but we are going to head straight ahead, which is towards Mosoro. Shajarah or Cheddra is on the sand highway, which heads towards Mosoro, which is the capital of the sort of state or area province of Bahari Ghazal, which is called the Sea of Gazelles. Now, while I was there, I didn't see any gazelles. I believe actually there were once when it was grass, when it was a grassed area, then there were deer, but gazelles. But when I was there, there were plenty of donkeys who love to sit on the road, and they don't move. You have to drive around them. Camels, sheep, goats. Actually, I don't know about sheep, but goats. Cute little goats. Meh. And that's about it. The styles of houses have changed along the way as well. A little while back we had some pointy roof, sort of thatch pointy roof ones. We see some more of them later on, but then we start to get sort of some mud brick ones with some sort of that is sticking up bits on the roof. I think it's something to do with. Now listen, I was going to say water drainage, but there's not much problem with that water drainage because it doesn't rain much. But I guess sometimes it does rain, so maybe that's what it's for. This is the end of the road. Coming up, we have a nice little discussion in the car about the merits and otherwise, actually mostly just the merits of the Badia or the desert. It's not strictly about Badia because this is still not desert, it's not complete wilderness, there's still bits of civilization, although not necessarily as we might know it. But yeah, the driver really enjoys it out here, and has a number of things to say about the advantages of this part of the world and traveling in this part of the world. They start off with a mention of Washington DC. I'm not sure why, but I've been to Washington DC, and as I say in the video, it's hard to make a comparison. Basically, because I can barely think of two more different places.
See how beautiful the sighting these places is. See how beautiful the sighting these places.
Who said?
More than Washington DC, he said. It's beautiful.
Well, I've been to Washington DC. It's a little bit hard to compare.
Washington there. والله مقارنة مبروط السنة.
entra facile ma per le di bini ما زغي entra اي خلاص entra entra ما توصل الى الشيء نفس المكان ان انا كيلو 4 نو
safety, secure. I'm not scared of anyone or anybody or anything. That's number one. That's why he liked it. Number two, you always have something to eat, something to drink, something to buy things with. Always you got that type of situation. That's second thing. And I choose it. تعال تويني.
أنا شمع أنا بوما أنا كنت كمان أنا شمع أنا كنا ما تبين كده. يوم أنا
It's not coated weather. The same dress you can wear for 10 days. Doesn't get dirty because it's not muddy. This is sand. That's why they really like it. At Jemeras, you get dirty, you get filthy. The further north you go, it gets sandier. So you cross doesn't get really dirty.
So this is the main road to Masoro.
Yes. Shajarah is my name, Musul. Yes.
Cheddra clear. Cheddra clear. Musul clear. Significa terre. For Libya.
Libya is robotchung.
Libya.
Anche Libya è robo, kilometri due entra.
Nere eskir.
Deve due chiudere ma non Libya è robo. Libya che ma robo ozara terre. La gente qui che no. E anche bus.
The trees start getting sparser and the ground is getting harder and flatter in this area. In the trees here you can see camels being ridden along. And here we can see quite a large cattle herd by the side of the highway. And some of my favorite little animals, donkeys. As I sit here rewatching and compiling these videos, I can't help but think about the fact that I am here in Jamaica, sitting in my kitchen, or what they call hall, and I live with around people who are basically African. They're from West Africa, who were brought here hundreds of years ago, whose ancestors were brought here hundreds of years ago on slave ships. The country, the land, could hardly be more different. Here it's green, 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 green. It rains almost every day. Things grow like wildfire. But the people come from, Africa's a big place, but not so far away from where we are in the video. And there are similarities in the way Jamaicans speak, apart from the patois, which is different. That's a different thing. But there are similarities. Africans that I know, for example, they don't say leg, they'll say foot for the whole leg. They don't say hand, they don't say arm, they'll say hand for the whole arm. And so do Jamaicans. There are other Africanisms, can call it, that I've noted, but I can't remember right now because I've got long COVID brain fog, and that's always interesting. I reckon there's probably about 3 people in the world who might get to this point and listen to this, so if you're one of them, put me a comment down below. Thank you. There may be prizes involved, you never know. So in these videos we have donkeys and camels and people and houses and markets and villages and people going about their business basically the same as everybody all over the world. Everywhere you go, the people were born there, they grow up there, get married, they have families, they go through all of life's adventures, and then possibly die in the same place. It's so interesting to think about how some people, such as some of the people in this video, traveled in their lives from being born in these places, traveling to other countries like Saudi Arabia, and then ending up in countries like Australia and taking their next generation of their family to grow up into adulthood in Australia. It's a long way to go, but people are people all over the world in all the places. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's never very far away. Where you end up is really only internally, hopefully, a distance from where you started. Hopefully we grow internally. Ultimately, the physical distance doesn't mean anything. It's really up to the individual and how you grow on the inside. We're getting closer to Shajarah now, where, as we've just seen, there is phone coverage, mobile phone coverage. So while I was in Cheddra, I was able to, while having no electricity and no water, running water, there was just a well, I had access to the internet and was thereby able to basically operate my kindergarten in Australia from the middle of the kind of desert in the middle of North Africa, which still astounds me to this day. So I could post on Facebook from pictures that came to me from the kindergarten via WhatsApp or just straight into my Google Drive, and also pay the ladies who were working at the kindergarten as well from my little brick hut with the bathroom that's made of sticks, which you'll see when we get to Shajarah. Yeah, technology is amazing. Coming up soon, we're going to start seeing a few donkeys with ladies riding them. They are heading towards Cheddra because this day, I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday, but I think it was a Saturday, there was a sort of monthly donkey market on that day. Now, they call it a donkey market, but I think mostly the ladies were actually riding to the market on their donkeys, and maybe there was also going to be the opportunity to buy and sell the donkeys. Anyway, as I have mentioned, I love donkeys despite the bad name that they have in certain communities. So when we get to that point, there's going to be about 8 minutes of donkeys and donkey market, which I find extremely interesting. You can see the donkeys and the ladies and the market and the huts, and they're unpacking. They're coming to the market at this time and unpacking their things to start selling for the day. Now, I find this extremely interesting, but if you don't, you're free to skip by the donkeys. But I would recommend watching the donkeys because they're so cute. They're bringing all sorts of things to sell. You can't really see what it is yet because it's rolled up in mats and things, but they do have earthenware pots to sell and that type of thing. Shajarah or Cheddra does have a kind of a stream or river. You can't really see the water much, but running through it. So it's down, you have to drive down into this and up again, and the market's just on the other side. I think it would be an underground kind of river. Where we are going is the other side of Shajarah town, called something like Shajarah Heights. It's a ridge of land outside the town, which also is making use of the underground water because they have what they call a farm at Shajarah Heights. I, coming from a farming background in Australia, would call it more of a veggie patch due to the size, but I guess it is kind of large. We'll see that later on. Anyway.
Picture looks like falling down. It's that mosque there with the minaret. This side is on a ditch. That's why it looks like falling. this is our people's town. This town. Dressed up in a horse. لوحة شجرة وشي أدرى متأخر كرت عندنا إنك قدرني صورة بدل فيها أندر تبيني شيء قدرت يجوكو قدرت بس مفروض صورة ما نقدر كيف لما أنا horse. ثم الدليل أكثر وعلى ذلك كان يمين وفي يسار فور وري
Is that the market? Yeah. It's an undercover market. MashaAllah.
Onion and everything we got here.
It's gonna drive through. One of the cousins. They want to show you the donkey's market. This is the car park for the dog. Yeah.
It's not being
Yeah, it looks like they're just coming on donkeys, setting up their shops or whatever.
That's the donkey's market, but it's not there yet. خلاص دلوقتي واجب
Itu kan motor jalan yang mana? Motor jalan yang abu berarti dari itu bertahun ini motor dia.
Dari ini ada.
Ajar deh.
Juga nih.
Iya gua.
Ajar deh.
Delhi ya berarti.
Delhi ya bang.
Delhi ini gua aja. Delhi ini gua. Gak sedih cendai. Cuta. Rana teh.
Yo belum ada gitu nana bandar anggra.
Oke. Siapa Randa? Aku luar siapa? Tidak siapa. Orang negara pun tidak betul.
Tidak ada lah.
Betul siapa? Betul kan ada. Tidak ada kan ada. Honey, can we take these pots actually? Can we? Mana aku kadar for gondar de?
How heavy are they?
Mana aku kadar for ko inke? Kadar chide. Murta for aku gondar de. Tera toma de jeri chama. Ya, gua kur.
Gue ini. Ini kayak tuh kan ini.
Ini kayak tuh kan. Yo, tron de karbu. Ini kar coba kari jane. Kayak kereta nih.
Coming up to the donkey market.
Ile maganna kari pila gana kirari ago yete. The grassing. The better pots are here. The one this way. All the donkeys are coming now. Birkiya sunna we. It's a crazy person. Very good.
Oh,
The person sitting down.
I didn't see.
Very, very popular person. I don't know in that much sure is a Mishra. Kita wala in that much sure 어디 양치면 나가노.
머리.
좀만에 아그런드로.
Arane Arazema.
Arazema.
Other cousins. Cheddra. This is the most fighting each other. Mando can goofy. One of the cousins. Ko. Bida. Marsara Yandam. The tractor driver. Ko Hammer. This is the oldest son, the one we say salam to in the market. That's his house there. This is the land that we walked. This area. Ko. 얘가 어디 다 부시가?
얘가 또
칸들 우리 이제 어린 놈을 엉클 사가 반다 들으시는 거죠?
no, 거기가 안 그렇다가 던다나.
This is his thing.
야, 안 들었잖아.
이게 말이니? Who's in there? Is it a thief?
So we arrived at the little tiny house where we're staying, which I would estimate was about 8 foot by 12 foot or smaller. Bricks, mud bricks, tin roof, steel louver windows, and that's it. Outside, as you can see in the pictures, there's a sort of brush stick construction which they made for me for a bathroom. And when I say bathroom, I just mean somewhere to bathe, to wash. There is no toilet, and this is where we stayed for the next, I think it was about 10 days. It was actually very nice and had this certain kind of peace to it, kind of peacefulness where there's just nothing going on in your mind. The stresses and anxieties of normal life were just gone. There was nothing in particular to do, no particular harassments, nothing. Just peacefulness and quiet, and that's all.